Let's transition and let's go to Tennessee as the Tennessee Titans beat the Chargers 27-24 for the Chargers. Justin Herbert went 27-41, threw for 305 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen had a great performance, 8 receptions, 111 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. For the Titans, Ryan Tannehill had a great game. Threw for 246 passing yards, went 20 of 24 passing, 1 touchdown. Here's Chargers head coach Brandon Staley after the game.
I'm not worried about the Jacksonville loss. The Jacksonville loss hasn't carried on to the season whatsoever. If you've seen our training camp or you've seen the way we played in the first 2 games, it hasn't had an impact on our team whatsoever. Our team is connected. Our team has played its heart out in 2 games, and we've lost 2 tough games. But it has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game. And if you ask anyone in our locker room, it has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game. And that's just the truth. It's a convenient storyline for you and for everybody else, but it's not the truth. We've lost 2 tough games, but the guys in that locker room, the men in that locker room, they are finishers and they have what it takes, and we're excited to prove ourselves. Yeah, we just lost a game in overtime, Jeff. So how do you think the mood is? How do you think the mood is? How do you think it is? It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough group in there. There's a lot of pride in that room, okay? And we put a lot into this, and we got a good football team. And so we've lost 2 tough games. We've got to bounce back, learn from our mistakes, and be ready for Minnesota.
That was Chargers head coach Brandon Staley after his Chargers fell to 0-2 on the season. And so I'm looking at the L.A Chargers, and their last 4 games dating back to last season, they lost in Week 18 to the Denver Broncos. They lost by 3. And then they followed that up where they had a collapse in Jacksonville. They lost the wild card game to the Jacksonville Jaguars by 1 point. Week 1, Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins ran circles around that Chargers defense. They lost by 2 points in Week 1. And then yesterday in Tennessee, they lost by 3 in overtime to Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. And last year, the Chargers finished the season 10-7, and 7 wins of those 10 games that they played in that they won, they were by 1 possession. So 7 wins by 1 possession, and they had 5 losses by 1 possession. And so when it comes to the L.A. Chargers, I believe that Justin Herbert is one of the best young quarterbacks that we have in the NFL. I believe that Justin Herbert is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and honestly, his talent is top 5, in my opinion. When you consider his arm strength, when you consider his ability to be able to move out of the pocket and make throws on the run, I believe that Justin Herbert is a top 10 quarterback, maybe top 5, depending on who you ask, in the NFL. And his stats back it up. For his career, Justin Herbert, 97 touchdowns, 35 interceptions, 14,623 passing yards, completing 67% of his passes. And in the last 4 games, including the playoffs, last 4 games that the Chargers have lost, here's Justin Herbert's numbers. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, passer rating of 98.4, completing 65% of his passes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a quarterback issue in L.A. when it comes to the L.A. Chargers. The problem in L.A. is Brandon Staley. Let's talk about Brandon Staley for a second. Brandon Staley's signature and his calling card and what he's known for is defense. Well, let's look at the Chargers so far this season defensively. The Chargers have given up 32 points per game. That's ranked 30th in the NFL. They've given up 438 yards per game. That's ranked dead last in the NFL. They've given up 333 passing yards per game. That's ranked dead last in the NFL. They give up 6.9 yards per play. That's ranked dead last in the NFL. And they have given up 18 total big plays so far in these first 2 weeks. That also is ranked dead last in the NFL. So my question for the Chargers organization is, if Brandon Staley can't strengthen what he's known for and that side of the ball, then what value is he holding being the L.A. Chargers head coach? I'm one of those people that believe that Brandon Staley should not have been allowed back on the flight to L.A. once the Chargers lost a 27-point lead in the wild card game last year when they played the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't feel like Brandon Staley should have been allowed back on the team flight back to L.A. The Chargers should have fired him right on spot and said, hey, you got to find a way back home. You're a highly paid individual. You got a lot of money, but you got to find a way back home, my brother, because we just lost a 27-point lead with Justin Herbert as our quarterback. So I feel like he should have been fired last year. And remember, there's something you got to keep in mind. Sean Payton is the head coach of the Denver Broncos, but Sean Payton wanted the Chargers job. Sean Payton wanted to be the head coach of the L.A. Chargers. This is something that people don't really talk about, but these are facts. Sean Payton wanted to be the head coach of the L.A. Chargers. And instead of firing Brandon Staley in the offseason, they decided to bring him back, and Sean Payton ended up getting the Denver Broncos job. But could you imagine Sean Payton with Justin Herbert and how Justin Herbert's development would be outstanding in the 2023 season? Because I believe that, again, at the top quarterbacks in the NFL, the young ones, the young guys, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson as well. I feel like Justin Herbert is in that conversation. But there are some people out there who believe that Herbert does not belong in that conversation. A, because he hasn't won a playoff game, and B, because the Chargers time and time again always have these games that they lose that they are supposed to win. So people feel like Justin Herbert is not elite. And I'm letting you know right now, Justin Herbert is elite. He ain't the reason why the L.A. Chargers have lost 4 consecutive games dating back to last season. That would happen to be Brandon Staley. And I don't understand how the hell Brandon Staley still has a job. And you got people right now in L.A. who's literally calling for this man's job. Now remember, in L.A., it's so many sports teams that people care about before you even get to the Chargers. You got the Lakers, you got the Dodgers, you got the USC Trojans, you got the Rams. It's so many other sports teams in Los Angeles that people care about before you even get to the L.A. Chargers. And today, the talk of the town is, how does Brandon Staley still have a job? That's what everyone's talking about. Not to mention, I think they made a mistake moving from San Diego to Los Angeles. Because if you watch or if you go to a Chargers home game, the opposing team's fan base outnumbers Charger fans. So this ownership, they are making mistakes and wasting Justin Herbert's prime. They're wasting his prime. And I look at their players on their team, they got nice skill position players like Keenan Allen, like Mike Williams. At running back, you got Austin Eckler. Now, he didn't play yesterday. He was out. But Austin Eckler is a top 10 running back in the NFL. And defensively, that's Staley's calling card, right? Defensively, you still got Khalil Mack. Now, Khalil Mack is not the player that he once was in Chicago. He's out of his prime, but he still can produce. You got Joey Bosa as well in your secondary. You got Darwin James. You got Asante Samuel. So this Chargers team, not only do they have the quarterback to be successful, they also have the personnel. So why? Why are the Chargers losing games that they're supposed to win? Why? Somebody call to the show tonight. Is there a Chargers fan out there who's listening to the show tonight? Call to the show. 513-203-8655 is the number to dial. Please tell me how Brandon Staley still has a job in the NFL as a head coach. This is Brandon Staley's record so far since he's been the head coach of the L.A. Chargers. 19-17. 0-1 in the postseason. Why does this man still have a job? One more stat for you. In the history of the NFL, no quarterback has scored more points in this many starts as Justin Herbert. Folks, it's not a quarterback issue. It's a head coaching issue. It's a head coaching issue. He's not the man for the job. We have to accept it and move forward. Got to accept it and move forward. Maybe they should call a head coach who actually knows offense. Because I believe that these quarterbacks who are in the NFL, who are playing at a high level, it's no accident. A lot of these quarterbacks are being led by offensive-minded head coaches or coordinators. Look at Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. He has Andy Reid. Before Eric Bieniemy went to Washington, Eric Bieniemy was in Kansas City. Joe Burrow has Zach Taylor, an offensive mind. Aaron Rodgers, when he was in Green Bay, had Matt LaFleur. And Jordan Love has played well so far in his first two starts because Matt LaFleur is his head coach. He's an offensive-minded head coach. Look at Tua. Tua in Miami with Mike McDaniel. Tua is playing some great football to start the season and played well last year, and his 13 games started because he has Mike McDaniel as his head coach, an offensive-minded head coach. So if you're the L.A. Chargers, the first thing you need to do is move on from Brandon Staley and go out and find Justin Herbert, an offensive-minded head coach. Find an offensive guy who can put Justin Herbert in positions to be successful. Because you have the personnel and he has the skill set to have the Chargers as one of the top three teams in the AFC.